right, welcome Isaiah. Thank you so much for helping me with this project on being the best version of yourself. So I sent you 10 questions, and I'm also going to add it to to our website, so everyone will be able to see the progress of you working out, becoming the best version of yourself. So you'll get credit for everything that you're talking about. So we're just going to jump right into it if you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. So question number one. What is one belief you held about being a man in your 20s that you've had to complete or learn to become who you are today?
It kind of cut out at the last little half part of the question.
Okay, I'll start over.
Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. Can you fix that?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. So we're gonna jump right into it. Question number one: what is one belief you held about being a man in your 20s that you've had to completely or learn to become who you are today?
Yeah, that's a pretty deep question. But I would say, I don't know, there's a lot of, there's a bunch of, masculine traits that I feel like, kind of society tells you to have, and what's good and what's bad, what's feminine, what's the right thing to do as a man or whatever. And I think the majority of those things are pretty, I guess for lack of a better term, toxic. You got the whole manosphere, this alpha male stuff going on with guys like, clavicular and stuff. So I would say, I guess, I don't know. There's like a bunch of things, but I feel like one major thing that a lot of guys can relate to in terms of the expectations of being a man that just aren't true is like, I feel like kind of just having to be like a tough guy. Like you have to, especially as it relates to violence, in terms of anytime there's a confrontational situation, a lot of men like to kind of escalate things towards getting physical. So I feel like that's one thing I've had to unlearn. And not to say that I was, like a violent kid growing up or a violent man in the recent past or whatever, but I feel like a lot of people's gut instinct, with any conflict, or a lot of men's gut instinct is to, try to fight somebody, or not even necessarily physically violent, but just talk crazy to people because of some sort of conflict. So I feel like, and that comes from this sense of trying to associating being violent with being masculine. And it's like, yeah, I feel like a good trait as a man should be to be able to defend yourself and be able to take care of other people, but I think a lot of people kind of escalate that, and they're kind of conditioned to be like that through movies and media and stuff, and just other a lot of people around in their environment. So I feel like that's one thing where basically I feel like I've unlearned you don't need to be a tough guy or be able to beat everybody up. You can handle conflict through talking about it, or avoiding a situation. A lot of these conflicts don't even need to be addressed. Sometimes you could just preserve your peace and just remove yourself from a situation. So I feel like that's probably a big thing that a lot of guys have experienced and could relate to. But,
yeah, I agree. Everything doesn't need a conversation. Some things can just be observed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good, very informative answer. So we're going to go into question number 2. We often talk about strengths But what is a personal weakness or darkness side that you've had to confront or move on from?
Yeah, that's another deep one too. I guess kind of similar to my last response. I feel like I feel like everyone could relate to this also too, like in terms of, you know, everyone has sort of internal motivations to do things, to act a certain way, and everyone also has like, obvious external influences that, impact how they act. So I would say as I've gotten older, especially like first getting into college, and especially in high school, because that's really middle school is kind of worse. Really your whole life, but you're influenced by, your peers, you're influenced by the people that you admire. So I feel like a weakness I had was being too influenced by certain people I hung out with, or to kind of act in ways that wasn't really me, or wasn't really always the right thing to do. And that's kind of broad, but there's a million ways that there's so many different examples that, like, for example, like just trying to be cool, like, I'm trying to think of an example of like, my early, my late teens maybe, where that was like a stronger weakness for me, like in terms of just doing things, maybe even as little as, buying some clothes or some shoes that you think other people will think are cool, but you not really, is that really you, you know what I'm saying? Or just little random things like that. Just maybe treating people differently than you would if you was around a different group of people, or it was just one-on-one. Like, just kind of, maybe saying certain jokes that might be what's the word? At the cost of somebody else's feelings or dignity, in order to
please someone else.
Kind of appease somebody else. So it's like little things like that. I definitely used to. I would say that was like one of my biggest weaknesses. Like sometimes just act different, not acting to who I am and what I know is right. And then I would, even back then when I was younger and still doing that shit, like I'd be like, damn, why did I do that? Like, and then it's like, over time, just like realizing, like, bro, like, just being more confident. And really what it comes down to is just being confident. I wasn't confident in who I was and what is cool with me. Like, I feel like everyone should be okay with, sometimes not being, the center of attention, or not being funny, or not being perceived a certain way, or being accepted by, people you think, are interesting or whatever. But it's like, if they don't accept who you are, it's like, then it doesn't matter, because it's like, now you're going to be playing up to be this, you're going to be playing a role, you're going to be playing a character that's not real, that's going to be exhaustive. So I feel like that was like a big, that was a weakness I had, that I feel like I'm not perfect. Obviously, everyone kind of, you change how you act around certain people to an extent, but I feel like now I'm way more, I guess just authentic in who I am, and, that changes as time goes on, but, I definitely feel like that used to be something that was more of a thing that I did.
Okay, that was a really great answer. I wasn't expecting that, but that was really good. The next one, the discipline of saying no. As you've grown, what are 3 things, habits, people, or opportunities that you've had to cut off in your life or make changes with?
Well, yeah, kind of one thing was the thing I just mentioned. I don't know. I don't really feel like, I don't know. I don't really feel like I like cut people off or cut things. I feel like things just kind of fizzle out, like
grow apart.
Yeah, because I don't know. I've never really like thought about myself as like cutting something or someone off. Yeah, it just kind of feels like it's more so it feels like I start getting new habits, getting better habits, or, you know, just putting my time in other places more often. And then over time, that just builds up to that becoming the new normal. And then the other things I used to do just kind of, fizzling out. But I don't know. I feel like maybe when I first got to college, I was going out a lot. I'll go to the club a lot. I was drinking a little bit more. So probably those two things, like drinking. And I still love going out, but when I do go out, it's way less often. And I usually don't drink. So, you know, just kind of learning about how terrible, you know, everyone already knows alcohol is like a poison, but, you know, it's also, it's fun. So, you know, there's like the balance with that. It's not like I'm just completely cut off alcohol from my life. You know, I'll drink it here and there, but I haven't drank probably, especially at the phase I'm at right now where I'm trying to go to the NFL. I've been trying to keep my body as, you know, in tip-top shape as I can. So, but, you know, here, it's not like it's something that's completely cut off. Eventually, you know, I'll go out, hang out with my friends, you know, have a good time. But I'd probably say those things, just kind of less frequent.
Okay. Which is a good thing. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, which is really good. All right, the next question. Internal versus external validation. How do you distinguish between a goal you truly want and a goal you've considered to want by society or your peers?
Yeah, these are all full circle. That's a good question. I feel like I kind of alluded to it a little bit with my answer to the second question. I feel like there's like at least for me, there was a feeling I would get, kind of just reflecting. I don't know if all these things are always, you're able to distinguish in the moment. So I feel like how my experience that I described earlier, like kind of reflecting on a certain way I would act or a decision I would make, in hindsight, would kind of be able to, be able to jot that down and remember that, like for next time I'm in a similar situation. So it's kind of, I feel like it's something you kind of learn from in hindsight, and then you kind of try to apply to, you know, moving forward. If you feel like, you know, a certain situation just went by, and then you're like, wow, that didn't feel right. That didn't feel like me. That it felt like I was doing that because of, you know, the external factors. And I feel like that's really the times that I've kind of deciphered of moving forward what's kind of true and what's not to my internal motivation. So yeah.
Pretty good. I'm gonna jump around a little bit because some of them are.
It's pretty good. I'm gonna jump around a little bit because some of them are kind of piggybacking off other questions. So the next question is going to be the relationships. How has your evolution as a man changed the way you've shown up in your most intimate relationship?
I would say that me just growing and maturing has made me just more, I guess, able to like honestly set certain boundaries, and just being more vulnerable too. And that's still something, like even me saying that, I almost feel like it's almost not true, but like, I feel like, everyth's on a spectrum, and, you know, compared to how I used to act, I definitely am more vulnerable than I used to be. Just being able to, you know, tell people you're in a relationship with that really just how you're feeling honestly, and setting certain boundaries, telling them things that you're not okay with, and, you know, kind of having the I don't want to say self-respect, but like just kind of just standing on business. Like if you tell someone, you know, that you're not okay with something, you know, it's not your job to because of how they might react to that. So I feel like just kind of, setting boundaries more often and being clear and how I feel about certain things are. I used to kind of do that. I would just kind of be cold.
Okay.
Or I wouldn't be vulnerable as much. So yeah.
Okay. I actually like that answer. That was pretty good, and the audience will probably take something from that, especially in this young, crazy generation. People being
where everyone's trying to be nonchalant. Yeah.
Yes. How does your relationship with your physical body, fitness, nutrition, sleep act as a foundation for your mental and spiritual clarity?
I would say I don't even really conceive of my physical, my body as like a foundation to the spirit. I feel like all that stuff is kind of one. It's I feel like they're all interrelated and like on an equal playing field. Like there's like a saying, the body follows the mind, and you could maybe even say the body follows then the soul.
Okay.
So I feel like that's kind of more how I think about it. I feel like, yes, being healthy, exercising, treating your body right, sleeping, taking care of your body, definitely contributes to your mind being at peace and your spirit being at peace. But at the same time, if your spirit and your mind aren't being nurtured, if you aren't, in my opinion, how I look at it is, everyone has their different. This is like it's a whole rabbit hole, but whether it's through God, whether it's through the earth, whether it's through your relationships, there's a lot of ways that the spirit can be impacted, and then your mind, like through learning things. I feel like if you don't have that situated too, if you're not out here, learning, like treating your mind right, then I also feel like, what's the point of you're just one dimensional. I just don't think. I think everything has to be strong for anything to be strong.
Right.
So.
All right. So we can keep our time good. I'm gonna ask you one more question. The next level. What is your hardest truth you are currently avoiding or wrestling with as you try to reach your own next level?
Hardest truth, I guess. Yeah, these are all deep. I would say that there's people depending on me, and really everyone. I feel like, especially as you become an adult, it's the truth, because, and it's a good thing, because that gives you extra. That's a great example of an external motivation, because I think everything is usually bigger than yourself, but at the same time, it's like, it's a hard truth, because then it's like, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, if you're not on your P's and Q's, then you're letting people down. So it's like, I just, anyone in your life. I mean, for me, I feel like that's just my immediate family. Because at the end of the day, you want to, provide for your family and, take care of everyone, make sure everyone's comfortable, especially in a society that doesn't really do that for people who are, not as in a society that organizes in a way where certain people have more privileges than others,
Right.
even if it's basic human needs. So that's probably the hardest truth. Is really, it's all society, it's all the government, it's all capitalism. But that's a whole nother.
That's another episode. Yeah, that's another topic.
We could talk. Yeah, we can talk about capitalism. I could do that all day.
Capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely the hardest truth. Nothing is it's not looking too bright right now for the world. That's a hard truth. So trying to maintain and survive through that is kind of hard.
Yeah, people are selling their souls for the next dollar.
Money, literally. So
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well,